With the introduction of Flamenco's new chronology, suddenly all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. Well, a great deal of them certainly do anyway, but the point is that they all lead towards the existence, they all lend credibility and go a long way to verify the existence of an ancient worldwide culture. And as I said on the show last week, this is the culture that is referred to in South American legends, Viracocha, Quetzalcoatl, and these great teachers that came. And it's also very likely that the land that they originally came from disappeared somehow, and the remnants of this culture went out and settled around the rest of the world. But however it happened, many of the ancient cultures that we were left with, such as the Aboriginal culture that we found in Australia when the British arrived, were populated by both black-skinned and white-skinned people. And this is also supported by the very little-known fact that when the British came here to colonise Australia, there were actually white-skinned tribes, white-skinned Aboriginal tribes living here with the dark-skinned Aboriginal people. And this can be confirmed in the notes of George Augustus Robinson, who was a man who was hired as a go-between between the Aborigine people and the Crown on Swan Island off Tasmania, and this tribe was actually known as the Tasmanian Whites of Swan Island. And as I said, very, very few people know that, but there were white people in amongst these tribes, and the very interesting thing about these tribes, all of the Aboriginal tribes in fact in Australia, was the language that they were speaking. Because really when you're trying to trace the roots of civilization, something that many people overlook is the linguistic comparisons and the linguistic similarities between many of these races, and search for the root race or the root language of these races. Because if there is a root language that can be traced to all continents, then we do find the root language of this lost culture, this lost civilization. And if we do that, then we do identify the fact that it was a worldwide civilization, simply because a worldwide language would clearly confirm a worldwide culture. And not only that, but were we to find a worldwide root language, we would also identify the language that existed before the confusion of the tongues. And that's a very significant thing, folks, because were such a language ever to be found, then that blows the entire official version of history clean out of the water. Because, as I said, a root language, a worldwide root language, identifies clearly a worldwide culture that existed on this earth. Okay, so enter the research of a little old Hungarian man who came to Australia just after World War II. He was a builder, but also an outstanding linguist. It was a hobby of his, and he spent most of his life since arriving in Australia after World War II researching history, in particular the Australian Aboriginal languages. And what he used to do was he used to go to the Mitchell Library in Sydney, into the special reading room archive collection, and usually only academics can get access to these types of books, but he was granted access in the 1960s by the head of Sydney University, simply because the head of the university was very impressed by his remarkable linguistic skills and figured he was safe and he knew what he was doing, so he let him in there to study. And so that's how he used to spend his time, mainly sitting in the Mitchell Library, reading through very old books and journals from the very early days of Australian colonisation, and generally any other rare old books from around the world that he could get his hands on. Now, the man I'm referring to is a Hungarian man by the name of Attila Flink. And I'm not sure if I should mention his name because I may get in trouble for doing so, but hey, I'm going to do it anyway. Because he was quite well known in some circles. He actually did speak before a parliamentary meeting once to present his research. This was in the early 70s. There was a man called Sir Charles Wentworth actually supported his work and got him to speak at a parliamentary congress with international delegations present. And after he presented his work, the Chinese delegation booed and got up and left the conference. And you won't find any research of this guy on the internet because he never got to publish his work. His work has come to me by way of a friend of his. And it's not actually his work, it's simply notes that this person took of the work that this man was doing. All his work does still exist, but we're not sure whether it will ever be released to the public because of the delicate nature of the work and also because of who is in possession of the work. But what this man did was he worked out with academic proof that right up until the English arrived, the original tribes of Australia were all speaking different dialects of the original Magyar root language. And he focused extensively on Tasmanian and Sydney languages, but he had examples of this proof from all over the country. Now, Magyar is the original root language of Hungarian, and it's kind of a mysterious language. We're told it comes out of the Urals, but it's all ridiculous. The story we're told about where it comes from just doesn't make sense. So it's kind of a mystery language. And by removing the true source of where that language developed from the Hungarian people, they've kind of caused the Hungarian people to lose their identity as well. And quite notably, the time that it was put forth that the Hungarian language was rooted in Finnish and Ural language was the same time they annexed Australia. Just a coincidence, of course. But he clearly identified the language of the original people of Australia as having its roots in Magyar. So, of course, Magyar could not have had Finnish and Ural roots, otherwise it wouldn't be found in Australia, and obviously has to come from a wider source. And he realised this because he was actually able to translate many of the old Aboriginal words into Hungarian phrases, and he was also able to communicate with many of the older Aboriginal tribes because of the root language they were using was basically the same as the Hungarian root language, which is Magyar. So the question has to be asked, how could it be that the Australian Aboriginal was speaking the same basic root language as white Hungarians from Europe? And upon further research, it would also appear that he confirmed that this was also the same root language that was being spoken by tribes in the Incas, the Ecuadorians, the Polynesians, and the Melanesians as well. Basically everywhere that the European invaders went and stole their lands and claimed as New World discoveries, this language was being spoken. And it goes even further. Apparently, according to Flink, when Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas, and which is kind of another grey area to get into because we know that Columbus didn't discover America, and it may not have even been Columbus who did the trip, but whoever it was who did that journey, somewhere during that incident, 6 Incas were taken from South America and were brought back to the Pope in Rome. And when the Pope heard the Incas speaking Magyar, he ordered the Spanish to go and wipe out the entire Inca race, around 40 to 50 million of them. And I can't bring you any more on that particular information at the moment because I'm still a little vague on that bit, but I will find out more about the Inca, Ecuadorian, Central American connection, and I'll get back to you on a later show. As I said, folks, I'm just pulling at threads here and seeing where they go, but I will get some more information on that and get back to you on it. But it really does make sense that that is why the Spanish went in and wiped out the Incas. You see, it wasn't about the Inca gold. That was just a bonus on the side, but the gold was just a cover story. They didn't go in there to steal the gold. They went in there to wipe out the population because they didn't want them speaking that language. And this would also explain why the remnants of the South American culture that were left after the Inca invasion were forbidden to speak their own language. It also explains why the East India Trading Company wiped out so many shamanistic tribes all around the world. It all begins to make sense when you start thinking that it was the language that they were looking for. Because they needed to wipe out all trace of this language, because any trace of this language would have proven that there was a worldwide culture that they were destroying. But it would appear, according to Flink's work, that this was the root language that was spoken in all of these places. And so the Jesuit forces went out and made a very, very concerted effort to clear the world of this root language and to genocide all the people who spoke it. They genocided the Incas, they genocided all the Polynesian people, they certainly genocided the Native Americans. And then the same thing was done to the tribes in Australia, which they wiped out in a similar manner to the way they wiped out the American Indians, mainly by giving them blankets with smallpox on them. What they actually did was send in Indian slaves that they'd kidnapped ashore to the Australian people, knowing the Australians would welcome them as brothers, But before they sent them ashore, they got long sticks with cotton on the end and smeared them with smallpox that they kept in a jar so they could infect the Australian tribes with smallpox and help wipe them out that way. And this sort of thing is simply not recorded in Australian history at all. We can find it in American history. It's quite a well-known event, but it's not recorded in Australian history at all. And instances of this are apparently recounted by many of the early explorers in the journals that Flink was looking through in the Mitchell Library. It's also noted that the British explorers sent people in there to communicate to the tribes to find out which tribes could speak Magyar, and then they subsequently went in and wiped all of those tribes out. Once the tribes found out this was happening, they all fled inland. And that's interesting in itself, but the story goes even deeper than that when you start looking into some of the translations that were pointed out by the work of Attila Flink. Because as I said, he clearly identified the root language of all the Australian tribes as being based in Magyar, and by doing that he was also able to gain a much clearer understanding of what actually happened to the original people, because much of the story was told in their language, in the names that they were given, simply due to mistranslations. And so it's very interesting research to look at, and actually forms a huge piece of the puzzle that we've all been searching for.
Hello and welcome. How is everyone? Thanks for joining us back for another chat with Paula. How you going, Paula?
Oh, yeah, I'm great, Campbell. I'm happy I'm home.
Yes, you've been very busy lately, getting a bit of reprieve.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I love it because I get to do my research now is my peaceful place.
Yes, good,
So
nice. All
yeah,
right.
it's wonderful. So
I
we're
guess,
going to get.
do we do a disclaimer? I was just going to say some of the content in this video might be a bit triggering for some, but we're just putting out information, all the information that Paul has found. So that's all it is, guys.
Entertainment only.
Entertainment only, that's right. We don't believe this. We're just talking. We don't know what we're saying. But yeah, it's not meant to, offend or put down anyone or anything like that. We're just trying to get to the bottom of the story of what's going on here.
Yeah, it's definitely going to ruffle some feathers. So people be prepared. If you still have some sorting out to do with your shadow self and this triggers you, it may trigger you. So just be prepared, because to my knowledge, and I know that it's being put out there, but how it's getting out there is being blocked. So Campbell and I are going to try and get it out there as well. But
yes,
it is really sensitive stuff. This is going to be another series. So this is only the introduction, and this is going to be heavy enough for people. So the continue of that's going to really, really, trigger. It could trigger people, even people that have got some religious backgrounds. It could probably trigger as well. It will most probably trigger our Indigenous brothers and sisters, hopefully in a good way, but it depends on which way they're coming from as well. So, Campbell, like we've always discussed, I'm the big thing about the biggest weapon that they use against us is our skin colour. And this whole series is going to be a massive wake-up call regarding our skin colour and who we truly are.
Yeah.
So get ready, guys and girls.
Yes. But yes, it's not meant to be offensive to anyone. It's just information. So yeah, it's if you take it personally, that's definitely not the way that it's intended. So
no, and we are actually, hopefully, we'll be joined, Campbell. I just have to quickly say this before we give our intention of protection, because that will happen in this series. I have wanted to do the Australia story for a long time. It's fascinating. As you know, I started off with Melbourne, and I will continue to go back to Melbourne and hopefully do other states of Australia. But that old niggle was pushing me to Sydney. And then that niggle got to where we got to with the textile threads. And I think it was a journey that I personally was meant to go on, because the textile threads the Silk Roads, the connection back again to our Tartarian ancestors and the Americas, and a whole lot more and looking into subjects that have not really ever triggered me to look at has brought, and I said it's brought me back to Australia. And Australia is so important to everything, and I've said it for a long, long time. And I wanted to present that as you have, Campbell. And that presentation has a lot of holes. So that things just don't connect. And I find it really hard to present with non-connecting threads. And it's been bugging me. So my research on Australia's just been sitting there and I've just got bits and pieces there. After an interview I did with Guy Anderson, I had a beautiful soul connect with me from Papua New Guinea. This beautiful soul, and his name, and if I say this wrong, I am sorry, but I'm sure it is Gabriel, G-A-V hyphenated R-I-L, May, M-A-E.
Yeah. And hello to everyone in Papua New Guinea who's apparently watching this show. Hello.
I love you. And I'm so glad Gabriel reached out to me, because you know what, Campbell, Papua New Guinea has been one of those little holes that has been bugging me in the back of my mind for a long, long time.
Just because of the maps, it's always shows on all the old maps, it's this really big continent. I'm the same. And I actually lived in Papua New Guinea when I was like 1 or 2 for a year in Bougainville.
Bougainville, oh my God, that's had horrific past. Horrific. But Gabriel has, as I can understand it, he's very good with his English, but he's trying to relay to us the past. And he has, what I understand, 93 years has been going around to the villages and to the people, his brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters also, trying to explain the fraudulent system that has literally taken over our true existence, and how a lot of people in the generations on the islands have also been given narratives that have persuaded them to think certain ways, and also, this division that has caused us so much pain. He's made it his life's work. He has, from memory, up to 300-400-page documentation that he is presenting himself to governments in the regards to what has happened in our lands, that is not acceptable. Not acceptable for any of us, and is the reason why we're here and where we stand today, in regards to the fraud of the small hats.
Papua New Guinea is an interesting one, right? Because it's basically been left without any what do you call it, technology. It's been left, basically back in the third world, and never any infrastructure or money put in, but all the mining companies are going over and just raping it. Yeah,
literally. And you don't really hear of what goes on in Papua New Guinea and what the horrors have happened back there. It's really, to me, I find Australia is kept out of people's minds in Europe and in a lot of parts of the world. And yet we, as close as we are to Papua New Guinea has been kept quiet from us as a land and as people, and what those people have been through. And we'll go through all of that. Thank you to Gabriel. I am so appreciative for you reaching out to me, because he needs his story told, as do all our brothers and sisters need their story told. And I am honoured. And Campbell is honoured. I'm sorry, I speak on your behalf, Campbell, present this series in honour of all our brothers and sisters who have ancestors who have gone through horrors, whether it be World War II, whether it be the genocides of the 1700s, it doesn't matter. We have all been targeted, and it's time it comes out, and it's time to present it as best I can to you, Campbell, and for us together to present as the masculine and feminine energies that we are.
All right.
Which I find beautiful, because it's not by chance that we have this connection, Campbell, and this presentation, because the balance of the male and female magnetics need to go back to where they once were.
Yes, definitely. That's another one that's being very attacked. It's the same thing, right? It's the division. It's they love their division.
Everything. So to all the villagers that are watching us where Gabriel is, because they're so excited to watch this, and I'm sure that it'll get around to all the villagers, we will get your story out, because it's our story too, Gabriel, and I hope I do you justice, darling. And we'll find the microphone for you.
Yes, we will. So if anyone's watching and they have a spare microphone or anything like that, they would like to donate to get to Gabriel so he can tell his story, then yes, send me an email.
Yes, well, I've got all his specs. He sent me the specs on his camera, so we'll work something out for him. Yes,
we will.
Welcome, and thank you for being here with us. I hope you enjoy our journey.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll start, Campbell, with our intentions.
Our intentions, yes, just because this is, a bit of an edgy show. Our intention is just to get out the truth, really, and to have that truth protected, and be allowed to get out to the wider public, right, so that everyone can start to understand what's really going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll get started. I have to read this because, me. So, in honour of the story I wish to present here to our brothers and sisters of the world, I reach out to our true great mother and father of our original parents. Shaba, our father seed, the omniversal co-creator essence of the masculine, the one magnetic of the Northlands. Remember that. Istan, our original mother womb, the omniversal co-creator essence of the feminine, of the two magnetics of the Southlands. Dear Mother and Father, as we are all part of your essence, I ask you to please to help bring forth your love, protection and knowledge, so that we, your children, can once again remember who we are through the ancestral lines of past, present and future. As a voice to relay the knowledge, I ask that only pure and truth and understanding be shared through myself and Campbell, and that no interference of that truth be allowed. I trust you will wrap us in your shields of protection against the unseen forces that know no better. And so it is said, and so it is said, and so it is done.
It's done. All right.
That's for everyone out there too.
For us all, yes, that's what we all want the truth, right? And we all deserve to know the truth. We all deserve to know our true story, and that's really what all this is about. So, yes, all the ancestors as well, help us get this story out, basically, without too much triggering, and let the truth be told.
Definitely. And I won't say that A word because it's a spell word. Okay, let's move on.
What were you talking about? Okay. All right. So let's
the
do
A
this.
word that we say after every time we become prey.
The one that comes from Egypt. Yes.
So if you think about the old
Amun-Ra.
you're making yourself prey.
Yeah.
Think about the spell words
word,
and
yeah,
what we
think
say
about
after.
the word pray, like what is pray?
Exactly. And that A word that comes after.
Yes.
So at the beginning of this video, Campbell, we showed a part of Max Egan's description of what he presented beautifully, may I add. He is such an articulately speaking man with a beautiful voice, about what our subject matter was going to be, about Attila Flink, who discovered our root language of our mother and father that I just mentioned, who were part of the Magra past. Apparently, we were all of a Magra descendants because the mother and father I just spoke about, Shaba and Istan, were the original Magra parents.
Yes.
So he tells the story beautifully, and we've only put a little snippet at the front, but Campbell has put the whole video in the description box. There is, I just remembered, another link that you all probably need to go and have a look at after we've finished with this one. I'll give it to Campbell after. I'm not going to mention anything. You can go on the description box and you will see it. So in that start of the video that Max talks about, because he received this information through someone that I first started following, because I knew nothing about any of this. And it wasn't until about 6 years ago that I started following Goz on Facebook. And he became, I'll call him at speaker, literally, because became very ill and passed, and he passed his knowledge onto God's, and God has been trying to pass that knowledge onto all of us. But the unfortunate part is that God has had some attacks. So, and I will read something about that at the end of this upload. So that's where God's got in contact with Max Egan, and that's how Max then tells the story of what I'm about to talk about. In that introduction, I can't remember if it was 42 million or whether it was 42,000 Incas were massacred. That's why the Inca civilization disappeared, and probably a few other disappeared, along with some very late civilizations that have disappeared, due to the fact of this knowledge of the root language that we're kept away from. Magra is an ancient Hungarian language, and when you say that, that's why there is a problem, because when you put a Hungarian language as a root language of all civilization, and all civilization cultures then have a dialect off that root language, we have a problem. We have a massive problem.
Yes. Is it Magyar? The language of Hungary is basically it's a dialect. It's the only dialect, right? It's not connected to anything else really. It's just this sort of standalone.
It's literally our root language. Every dialect that has come from cultures has come from this root language. Even English.
Yeah.
Even English has bases. It's just our English language, like everything, is inverted from our organic, natural root language.
Yeah, I've heard that it's actually like reversed.
Yes, it's
Hebrew,
put upside down.
Yeah.
So M's become W's and W's become M's and lots of things like this. But our actual language, root language, the basis of our one civilization, Campbell, one. That's why all our architecture looks similar. That's why everywhere in the world, Chinese architecture looks like the architecture we have in Melbourne, and China looks like it, and your Arabian architecture and your Indian and everything. A Moroccan, your Moorish architecture. It's all been given little titles, like we've said before. It's all based on the one civilization, and the one civilization had one root language, and then cultures came from those civilizations, and their cultures then became dialects of that one root language. So what that means is it didn't matter where you went, everyone could understand each other.
That would be
because
nice.
The dialect was based on the one on the base language.
Well, it's very Tower of Babel, isn't it?
It is the original Tower of Babel, and English is the Babel.
The Babel, we're babbling. Babble on, man.
Well, yeah, and it's the only language, Campbell, that is a spell language. It's the only language where one word can have 10 different meanings.
Yes. I know.
It's the one word where a sentence can become a different understanding of what you're trying to say, but depending on the word of what its meaning is.
It's a crazy language.
It's a
it
stupid
really
language.
Is. Are you aware of what you wear and where you wear it? I mean,
exactly. And yet, what is the universal language for the world now? What are they pushing?
English. Yes, definitely. Yeah, most of Europe now speak English, most of Asia, and it's a tourist language, isn't it, really?
And tourists, another thing to get, it's all agendas. It's all ways of getting something across by pushing something else so that something can sneak in.
Yeah, sleight of hand, man.
There's a sleight of the hand all the time, Campbell. So we have this dialect. So the only way people would, okay, I'm going to date that back a little bit. So we go into examples of original dialect. It's not a language, it's a dialect. So the original dialect of our root language, say the original Italian language, was a dialect of this root language. The Zimbabweans speak a dialect of this root language. The Egyptians speak a dialect of this root language. Chinese speak a dialect of this root language. So what we have from this is that when you go back, and I always reflect it back to when the emperor, and I found out he wasn't even a friggin' emperor, he was a sheriff of Constantinople for I can never say this word, Campbell, I've already started, the Byzantine Empire, BYZ,
Byzantine.
The Byzantine Empire. He was never an empire. He was never an emperor. He was a sheriff for that empire. And as I understand it, he had every time I think about my thought process, I have to laugh. He has a king positioned in Hungary with the last word Dracula. He was called the King, the Impaler.
Vlad.
Oh, Vlad.
The one that Prince Charles, very very nicely tells us is his ancestor, and he's quite proud of it. He says he has a stake in things. Maybe I'll put the clip in here.
Well, the Impaler was an ancient magua. So you can see that it's all its hands, its tentacles of inverting stuff, because, of course, I'm not saying that the whole story here is that there was a section of our seed family that went rogue.
Interesting, and that's very Cain and Abel-y, right?
You can face it.
There's so many twin stories and evil brothers and evil twins, and this split in seeds. It's a very common thread throughout
Well, that seed is now part of what has happened to us, and it goes really, really, really deep. And I can't even really, I can't even really think I can discuss it here. I might write about it in the newspaper. I think more so about what really happened to our parents and what really happened to our original parents. Also, is written in all our history in many different forms. So anyway, what I'm getting to is that we had elites, the rogues, I'll call them,
the rogues,
who refused to use the root language, and wanted to and then in turn refused for some of these offshoot dialects to be used, because when they started using a bastardized root language, they could no longer understand the dialects of all the villagers. The villagers can quite easily understand each other, and you could go to anywhere and understand the people you're talking to because you have a base language to go off. But the elites did not want that. Hence why in Italy, you weren't allowed to speak Italian or your dialect, or you'd be beheaded. And how many times have we heard of certain countrymen that, or villagers, weren't allowed to speak their native tongue?
Yeah, it happened here in Australia. Like literally, like if they spoke the native language or taught it to their children, they'd be separated from their families and imprisoned, or worse.
Hence, yes, exactly, which is what we're going to go into. So this is why we have Babel, Campbell, because the rogue elites, or became elites, decided that that language was not that root language just was too much evidence. They didn't like that we were one civilization. They didn't like the fact there was no superiority in certain ruling. So they decided that they would produce this, and they would produce anarchy, confusion, division, wars. It's all there. I don't have to go into it. The picture of the past is there. They also changed timelines. They changed timelines, reset us so many times because what they're doing and what they did in the past was separate us on every level, spiritually, physically, knowledgeability, by resetting us. And they reset us using our original mother and father. And I'll talk a little bit about that soon, but I'm not going to go right into it because it goes right back to all our ancient stories of what truly happened to the feminine soul and what happened to the masculine soul. It's all based on our original story. And those souls were literally spliced and spliced and spliced and reused DNA to literally bring us down to a smaller human. The original parents were from the vapor canopy time.
Yes.
When everything was flourishing, where we had large trees, large humans, large everything, where there was a balance of the magnetic field. It just everything, once you start researching this, everything starts to click.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she was telling me a story that they'd done some experiments in the USA, I'm pretty sure it was, and they'd recreated a vapor canopy environment, and they put a rattlesnake in there to see what would happen.
It grew.
No, well, it might have, but guess what else happened?
What?
It became non-poisonous. How's that? So talk about harmony, because we always talk about
Doesn't surprise me.
why do we have poisonous animals? Why do we have, parasites and that? And it looks like, if that's true, that none of that existed in the vapor canopy.
No, because if it did, Campbell, how did anyone survive? How did anything survive if we're all the same size?
Well, this is the thing. It'd just be carnage, right? But
it would be carnage.
But the
it
thing
couldn't
is,
exist.
it was plentiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was abundant, so that there wasn't a need for people, for animals to fight for resources, because there was enough for all. Everyone was, so all of these defense mechanisms like poison and that they would have been,
didn't exist.
Yeah, they didn't need them.
Yep. And it's also discussed with our original seed family that they actually, and get this will amaze you too, they actually flourished. When you know this, the pictures you see, once you realise that we come from a very gigantic time period. Remember the huge mushroom type stones that you see?
Yep.
Apparently that's what our seed family ate. We ate the feminine mushroom, and the male mushroom was what contained the hallucinant material.
Yeah.
And that was eaten during special occasions and to balance. And the rogues decided that mushroom was far too exciting to just have a little bit at a time, and divulged so much of the masculine mushroom. Doesn't this all, click the dots? That they became far, far, far too much on that side and one magnetic of that side.
Yeah.
And it literally sent them into psychotic, psychopathic, narcissistic.
Wow. Okay.
Does that ring a bell?
Well, yes, that's very interesting. I'm always saying that they're not us, and I kind of figured that they must be from somewhere else. And I guess the vapor canopy is somewhere else. But mate, yeah, right. That could be another thing that they've just split off from our family, if you want to put it that way, and that's why they're psychotic. And it's also the masculine takeover, right, which has definitely occurred from the feminine.
Yep.
And I mean, magic mushrooms. I'm just wondering, where does it take people? Is it taking them back to vapor canopy consciousness? Because people say they talk to dragons and all types of things on mushrooms. So that's very interesting.
It is interesting, isn't it? And when you start really looking into it, you've got to look into it with a mindset that just not accepting everything, but you're actually just, like I keep saying, that intuition. When I read that, everything just fell into place. And I thought that makes so much sense. Because you've asked me in the past, Campbell, who do you think they are? I always say it's us. It is the dark side of us. But it's gone so far, because they had technology and everything as well, that they have used everything. I even brought my boys up to, I said, everything in moderation is not a bad thing. It's when you exceed something or overindulge in something and just break the balance is when you get into trouble.
Yes.
It's common sense.
Totally.
So it's nothing different to humanity.
And I'm just thinking about all these pictures we get, all the posters and things you see around in shops, of the mushrooms and the big trees, those kind of fantasy kind of, like they're always got that what's the word, like violet kind of look to them, that kind of iridescent-y kind of look.
Yep.
Which, as far as I know, is what's produced in the vapor canopy, right? Because the sun's not directly coming in; it's like diffused, and you get this different.
We get a violet
light, light. Yeah,
and the sky is violet.
So is that a remembering that people are drawing?
Oh, look, it would not surprise me. And look, we're going into, and isn't it strange that every time we start talking about something, like last week when we started talking about, you know, the tunnels and the transport and stuff like that, now we're talking about psychedelic mushrooms. What are they now getting right into at the moment? I only read a piece of paper on it yesterday. The Science want to introduce alternative medicine on a mass production of marijuana, and they want to be in the psychedelics.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, the whole you know, microdosing thing has been used for quite a few years now. You know, for things like, you know, mental illness, if that's what we want to call it.
Yep.
But the problem is they don't want us to go out and find it in nature, do they? They want to get it, they want to corrupt it, and then they want us to take their corrupted version of it.
That's exactly right. But you know what? They also realise that that it doesn't matter every way it turns. There's always that they realise, oh shit, they've found that we can't really do that. Let's mass produce it, and then they can buy it. We're always a step ahead.
Yeah.
Always a step ahead. It doesn't matter. You just look at everything, and we're always a step ahead, and they're trying to catch up now. And this is what this whole time splitting is about as well. Like even Jason, when he spoke to you, that first interview you did with Jason from Archaics, when he talked about the vapor canopy and Australia, he even talks about the scientists that looked at the theory of the vapor canopy, locked themselves away, and tried to reproduce the vapor canopy in their laboratory. And they were doing research on it, and those men, they didn't even realise, had actually grown in height, and their plants got out of control when they did this experiment.
Well, it's interesting because they're, you know, with more plant life, you get more CO2, right? And today, like gardeners pump CO2 into their greenhouses to make the plants grow bigger. And they tell us, you know, we've all heard about the dragonfly, you know, with the meter wide wings, and the giant sloths, and even the dinosaurs, right, which are just giant lizards. They tell us everything was bigger in the past.
Yes,
except for us. They're telling us. They just keep the vapor canopy out of it. And we've got all the stories of giants, but that, you know, the mainstream don't ever say that we were bigger. They just sort of say everything else was. And then we get all these videos of, or like movies from, you know, the 50s and 60s of people going back in time and everything. They've got to fight dinosaurs and all these massive beasts, and it's all scary.
And we've got little people. We're the little people running around getting away from being eaten.
But yeah, you know, we've clearly been shrunk. You can see it in the buildings, right? They're made for bigger people.
Yeah, we've definitely been manipulated, but also too, we are, you know, the giants are the bad guys. They're always the bad guys. We're not. And what does that say? I mean, come on. And we're meant to believe that a giant had sex with a little female and then gave birth to a giant. I mean,
that story just that doesn't make sense at all. I know. The only way it makes sense is if you say, oh, well, they're talking about genetic engineering, which is another thing that they've sort of put in there, right? Oh, it's all genetics and Enki and Enlil and, you know, changing, you know, they found us down here and they want us to mine gold and they mixed our DNA and all this weirdness.
All that stuff about the Enki and Eki and bloody
Enki and Enlil, yeah.
What's the other one? The starts with an A, because I can't remember the Anunnaki. I can't remember certain things, it means I'm not meant to, because they are irrelevant to me. And it's totally irrelevant, because to me they're all bullshit. So even that's talked about, that they are part of the reset. The time splicing, it's the white hat stories constantly, and Inky and Aki and friggin' Anunnaki and all those things are all stories.
Well, yeah, I mean, Anunnaki means those who from heaven to earth came, right? So those who basically came from the sky down to the land. Does that mean that that's because of the vapor canopy and the giant trees, that we weren't living on the land, we were living up in the canopy? Is that why they came down to Earth?
Well, that's it. It doesn't mean they're from space.
It doesn't mean they're from space.
The Indians even they say the Anunnaki are two words, Ani, which is a female word, and Anunnaki is I can't remember what that means, but Anunnaki was actually reused by the
let's call them the small hats, but
yes,
and propagated by Sitchin, by one person, and now it's turned into this thing that people think is, this big story, but it's all created by one dude.
Yeah, it's all, and he was a small hat as well. So it's all by design. Everything that has been happening is by design by the small hats. So so that's discussed in the Magra story. It actually says that Jubba and Istan, when they were murdered, they used. I'll read the story. We'll go ahead. We'll read the story first, and then we'll go into it. So the story of Shubba is
father.
He would. Have you got the picture of him?
I shall get it.
There is a picture of him. He is a 30-foot stone structure built by the Mag of what Shubba used to look like. Just before, now he was 100-foot human. Our father was 100-foot tall. That statue was made in honour of him just before he was thrown off Mount Meru.
Mount Meru. That's very interesting, isn't it?
Isn't it?
That's
not long.
No, sorry, you keep going. I was just going to say there's a story from England. What did England used to be called? I'll remember in a minute. But basically, it's all about them going there, and it was full of giants that were evil, and the last remaining giant got thrown off a cliff. Albion, when it was known as Albion.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, Jubba was thrown off Mount Meru. Not long after, we had a time split reset. They used his DNA to reduce the size of the Magra race of people. So that's another part of our past. They used his DNA, parts of him, to literally change our form so that we became small and insignificant.
Well, to them.
To them. So the soul aspect of Shubba became 500 men, the original tribe of Dan in Ireland, who were known as the original land of Shubba in Tasmania.
The what? Interesting.
So they used his DNA for the 500 men of the tribe of Dan. The tribe of Dan in Ireland was originally the tribe of Jubba in Tasmania a long, long time ago.
Wow.
Istan, our mother, was also killed in a very, very horrific fashion, and her story is told many, many times because she was split apart.
Okay.
And satanically abused over and over again, because she had the indestructible soul of the original family, us. So there's this huge storyline. So when they did this to the two, they were able to use the energy and the force and the spiritual magnetic of the two co-creators to split our timelines to what they wanted. I don't want to go, like I said, I don't want to go in the description because it's horrific what they did to her. And also understanding she was also gigantic. But what I can say is that our mother was an indestructible soul. And apparently over 1 million women in our history will have a slice of her soul's personality and aspects of the original mother of the omniversal creation herself.
You're right. So it's I mean, it's kind of a bit Gnostic-y there too, right?
It's very Gnostic, but it also goes back to so many legends and myths and historic so-called events. So we have abilities to use magnetic energies. You know, we talk about ley lines, we talk about portals, we talk about the energy of this earth and how she has been, or the both of them have been literally used now for nefarious reasons, and has been overlaid upon overlaid. When you read into this, you can understand how that has happened. Because if they were part of us and part of the original seed family, then they would understand everything about us. They would also know everything that's good about us. They'd know about how our feminine energy works, how our masculine energy works, how where the you know, when you have too much of one, it becomes extreme to one extent, the other side gets extreme. They would understand everything about us, all our weaknesses, all our strengths. How could they not if they weren't us once upon a time?
Yes. Interesting. Okay, and that's okay. And so that's how they've got us to forget by splitting us down into shards of the former whole. And
Yes.
I mean, and that's also got all these connotations to do with, you know, we're all one, we're all part of the same, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know, God or universe.
Omniverse. They call it an omniverse. What do they call it? What is it? It's something I've got to get I've heard it before, but I just got to get my head around it. They are omniversal. Omniverse,
omnipotent.
Omniversal.
What's the other word? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, omni is all encompassing, right?
So, yeah, it's spelled OMNIVERSAL.
Well, that's interesting.
Omniversal co-creator essence of the one magnet masculine and two magnetic feminine.
Yes, and omni, of course, means it's a plural word, right? And they've turned it into universe, which is singular. Universal. Just like they do in the Bible, right? Where they've turned the Elohim, which is plural, into El, which is singular, like God, like their God. Yep. Yeah, right.
But you know what? There's something there that really gave me an aha moment when they described the male as being, the masculine as one
magnet or whatever.
Magnetic, Polarity, and the female being
two.
And they use the one as a U, and the female is in two U's, as in the breast. So you've got two magnetics for the feminine and the one magnetic for the male. And the male is the north land and the female is the south land. As soon as I read that, Campbell, I had a huge aha moment, because believe it or not, a week previous, I only found that out last night when I was just finalising my research. I said, why do we always have wars between the North and the South? We've got the Civil War was the North and the South. We had the Irish Wars, the North and the South. Every war you can think of is North and South.
North Korea, South Korea, yep. And it's always red against blue.
Why? And I always wondered, why isn't it the East and the West, or the West and the East? No. And what is the West and the East? We've got the West on one side of the Antarctic, the West Indies. We've got the East on this side of the Philippines and us, the East Indies. And what's in the middle? Batavia. So I'm thinking, when are we going to have wars here? What's going on? We've got the main manipulators of this also living in the West and the East, but we never hear of wars of the West and it's always North and South, South and North. Why? And then I read that and I thought, Of course, it's the male and feminine energies, the two and the one magnetics. Makes so much sense.
Mm. Yeah. So, and it also breaks down to the masculine against the feminine, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The war of the sexes.
The war of the sexes, exactly. It's always in plain sight, Campbell. Everything they do is in plain sight. We just have to connect the dots. And because they've separated us so much from our original knowledge and our original purpose and our original of who we truly are, it's no wonder we can't connect the dots.
I know. They're very good at misdirection. I'll give them that.
Well, they are us. So it doesn't matter which way we think. That's why we've got to stay one step ahead.
Yeah. Well, they're the evil twin brother, right?
Exactly.
Not really.
So,
yeah.
On that note, we'll go into Attila Flink. Attila Flink. Oh, the web they weave, Campbell. Hey?
Yeah. Do we have a picture for Attila that I'm supposed to bring up or not? No. Did we want to go through this statue of Chabwa?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes. Can you go back to that? We might not even have time for this, but
we'll see how we go. This will be a part one of many things, no doubt.
Yeah, we might have to continue it. So if you zoom on that, this is very interesting.
Yeah. So this is the meaning of masculine, feminine. Before it was called Sydney by the New World Order, empire building globalist invaders, this geographical landmark was known as Warani, which in Magyar language, Warani dialect means city or harbour of star forts. Really?
I knew you'd love it.
What?
Yes.
That the Magyar Northern Naval Branch being the origin Northern Irish Phoenician original stonemason builders who actually built them long before this current New World Order, Australian colonisation agenda plan, who also spoke the same Magyar worldwide language, just slightly different dialects at times due to geographical and societal differences at any stage or moment of now. So up or north, it would be called Varani, as Varani means city or harbour of star forts, as war southern dialect. So V equals U, one magnet, masculine, and W, which is literally, we say double U, like two U's.
Exactly.
Two magnets is the southern lands. All right. U and W. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Oh, Campbell.
I've always wondered why you would, it's the only letter, right, that's called, it's two U's together when you look at it, and they call it W, but it's the only letter that's spoken of like that. Everyone else, every other letter is has its own defined meaning, but this one is, for some reason, just a replication, double of another,
Yes.
consonant.
Yes. Good pickup, Campbell. Yes. Oh, well, it's a lot. Look, even when I'm talking about it, and when you're reading it, and it still is so much to digest. Because you know what? I believe when I read all this, I get so many aha moments, and I get this recognition really far back that goes, yeah, now it's starting to make sense.
Well, it definitely brings all the stuff back to Earth, right? Back to this realm, back to reality. It takes it out of the infinite space. It takes it out of all the spiritual realms and all this kind of stuff, and brings it back squarely to Earth.
Yeah, squarely grounded, bang.
Very
It
good.
definitely does. It's yeah, it's even as we talk, I'm still digesting a lot of it, but nothing that we're saying here, it just is concreting it more and more for me that this is the right track, because this Magra literally means the family of the original family, the original seed of family, the human family. So it's literally the start of everything. I mean, even the Phoenicians were Magras, the Italians, the Moors. It all goes, you can go into the Moors, the Tartarians, the Mongolians. It all goes back to it, Campbell. We're all part of that root language, and language is so important. And that's where the linguistics comes into it. And this is where Mr. Fink comes into it. Attila Flink. Attila Flink. Very important man in our history that has been shoved under the carpet.
Yeah, well, I've definitely never heard of Attila. I've heard of Attila the Han, but not Attila the Flink. There he is. So, I mean, he looks like he was around in what, the 50s, 60s?
He immigrated from Hungary to Australia after a lot of, yeah. And this is a photo of him proudly standing there about to present his research and his findings to a Congress.
Oh, okay.
Parliamentary
congressional hearing, yeah.
Yep, in 1979. The first and last photo of Attila Flink. So he came over as a migrant, and he was a linguistic hobbyist. So Attila never trained to be linguistic, but his interest in language had been there for a long, long time. And his main interest was ancient Hungarian language, which brought him to the Magra root language. And he found that when he applied that language to other dialects, that there was too many familiarity of wording to be just a coincidence. So he then that became like us. That became his purpose in life, is to find out why this particular ancient language had so many connections to other dialects around the world. So that's how he came to Australia as a migrant. He then, of course, wanted to start looking at not the Australian language, because that was English, that was boring to him, but the Aboriginal language. And this is where we come into problems.
Yes.
Because what Flink found, especially when he went to Tasmania to do some research on the no longer existing Tasmanian tribes, he found that he learnt, I have to say this right, he learnt that they actually spoke the most purest and super language of the Magra. He even learnt himself, that as he was learning from that what he could find and research, he was actually getting a much better understanding of his own ancient language through the Tasmanian Aboriginals.
Well, yeah, and if anyone doesn't know, basically they were genocided. I think the last survivor was, what, the 1920s or 30s, something like that, a lady.
1930s, a lady, yep.
Yep. And one of the main physical traits is they had dreadlocks, didn't they?
They had hair like the Africans.
Yeah. So like, and I was just
very
thinking, like
tight.
in the movie Avatar, all of the avatars have dreadlocks too. Just an
They
interesting
do.
little connection.
They do. Avatar really hits me hard when I watch that show.
Mm.
In Central Australia, he spoke with a tribe, and I will spell this because it's also very Hungarian. Matagyrari, the Mataguri tribe.
I mean,
Where
that
he was
doesn't even
told,
sound Aboriginal, really, does it?
no, it doesn't.
Matagori.
And this tribe told him that Dampier, one of our explorers,
Oh, Dampier, yeah.
Dampier,
William Dampier, yeah.
demanded that someone get him a Hungarian translator. And he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one, Campbell.
Okay, so he clearly saw the language or heard the language as Hungarian and needed and wow.
Yep.
That's
And he wasn't the only one. I'll talk about that in a minute too. So because he was so driven now, like he's really driven. He's driven more than he's ever been because he's getting a better understanding of his own ancient language in a country that's nowhere near his home country.
and should have no connections at all, especially in the story we're given, right? There should be no connection.
Nope. And he has a drive to find out how can this be. So that in the 70s, before he presented his research, he was okay. What's the Sydney Library and the Mitchell Library? If you want to get up that picture, Campbell, because it is actually so important.
This is the map.
Yes, this is at the entrance of the Mitchell Library. So Fink somehow, I think his work, his research was actually getting noticed by people in America, influential people in America, and politicians and such in Australia, as well as affluent people of Australia, were starting to really take notice of what Flink was doing. So check that map out. That's a map of Australia.
Here we go. I think I can flip it.
There's a few of them there. It's hard to really see it.
Hang on, I went one too many. That one. If that's sort of a funny angle, but you can see that's Australia, Tasmania connected, and what do we have up here? But
Papua New Guinea.
To be connected to Papua New Guinea.
And many other lands too. Why is that our main? Why is that? You would think they'd put the standard map of Australia at their entrance. Well, that is a 1629 map, which is the one I sent you about the larger map of Australia.
So this is like a big map on the floor.
Yeah.
Mitchell Library in Sydney. Is that upside down?
No, that's the top of Australia, the tropics. That's the top of Australia. Papua New Guinea bends over the top. And then you've got all this landmass all around.
Let me get to the
That's why we were called the biggest land in the world.
This one. Let's see if we can get that up the right way.
There you go.
I mean, that's a lot more land.
And people will say, and Tasmania was joined. So people will say, oh, yeah, but that's because they didn't get to the other side. They wouldn't have known how to map that out. No, sorry. There's a lot of maps that show it this way, and we'll go into that because there's a reason for why our Australia looks the way it does now. But that is only part of what we were connected to not that long ago. I can't hear you, Campbell.
I said, whoops, I hit a button.
That's it.
Yeah, well, there's lots of maps depicting more land, you know, bigger Australia, bigger everything. But I mean, that, you know, they used to use that for Tasmania, right? They'd say, oh, it's connected because they didn't go through Bass Strait. They didn't realize it was there and they thought it was one landmass, blah, blah. But look at this. This is all charted with, you can read it, but these are town names like
They're
rivers.
towns.
Yeah. So that has been charted like that.
Yep.
You know, the only bit that hasn't been is this outside bit, but
there's parts of that have been charted too.
Mm.
And they're all already talking about Bass Strait. You can see the original land underneath. It was all connected.
Mm.
So actually, if you go and zoom into that Papua New Guinea part, bring it down a little bit where it hooks around just up down a little bit. No, the opposite that.
In there.
Yes, right where you were. In that little area there is where Gabriel's family tribe came from.
Wow.
So
now we have
it was called Gwena, Gewona from memory. Gwena.
Okay.
Yes, that's where his family lived for a long, long time.
And I guess so that would probably be today part of Papua New Guinea, is it? And
it's no longer there.
Oh, it's no longer there. Okay, so Papua's more up here.
It was a lake, Campbell.
Okay.
So we'll get into all that because this is all never heard of before.
It's all full of islands all through here now too, right? It's an ocean full of islands basically all the way up to Papua New Guinea.
Yep, and that top part of New Guinea also was part of the Philippines, became part and was once part of Indonesia.
And Java.
All joined.
Greater Java and all that. Yeah, I mean, and I guess we can go back as far as, you know, the Monty map, right, where it's literally one big landmass.
That's what he talks about. So if you go to the other picture, the large land of Australia.
Okay, the large land of Australia.
We'll get back to Flink in a minute because all this is important. It's where we're heading.
Large land of Australia. So this is why I like them, and this is why maps are very interesting to me. So this is Australia, New Holland.
So
1659.
That was 1659 apparently, and that's the map that is on your floor of the Mitchell Library, Campbell.
Okay, that's it. And here it says 1644. Well, does it, or does it say I 644?
644, exactly.
Yeah, okay, so this is it. And again, you can see this is all charted. We've even got islands being charted here. They're all named, all the inlets and rivers, all the, you know, so it's not because, you know, they thought it was connected, it hadn't been there. Clearly they've been there.
Yep. Yep. And that then also connected all along to the Antarctic at one stage.
Yes, I would agree with that. Well, down here, very interestingly, we have New Zealand, right? Zealandia.
Zealandia, exactly.
Right? And you can see that's clearly a different shape to New Zealand today.
Yep.
But they tell us that New Zealand is sitting on this big continent called Zealandia. Have you seen that?
Yes.
It's underwater. And I guess this is, Van Diemen's, Tierra, I think that's saying Tasmania, basically.
Yep.
Which is very far down, by the way.
It's a long way down, isn't it?
Yeah, from where it is today.
And we had another island, Campbell. See Western Australia, when you're going from Adelaide, that straight bit down to Western Australia.
Yeah.
We had another large island underneath that at one stage as well.
Under here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they would be the islands of Bass Strait today, right? Like King Island, I think is one of them, and there's a few others.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
So I wanted to show that map so people get an idea of even, you know, this is what we're going to be discussing, and the information that Gabrielle has given me has made that map and our other maps. We can understand them better now, but we'll go into that later. But so yeah, Mr. Fink found this huge connection, Campbell, and he decided that he was given permission, and they get look at that.
See, same thing.
What's going on with that picture?
What is going on? I mean, there's an elephant in here and an elephant here.
Yes.
People who are not looking like, the originals. But again, it's got this island here and it goes up, right? It's all charted.
Yes.
All up the side here.
Yep.
So you can find lots of these kind of maps. This one, I mean, just look at the shape, clearly much bigger. And, we've missed the side bit here, but you can see it's the same kind of image that we're getting. And then you go back far enough and you get this.
Yes.
Right, which, like you were saying, this is what we're told now is Antarctica, but clearly Terra Australis, and the same thing, it's connected right up to New Guinea, Nova Guinea. So, and this, of course, is the Monty map. And this
we'll go into the Monty map.
That's basically all of, Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, all that kind of stuff.
But we keep going, Campbell, because what we're going to discuss is the land of Patali, which is the white section near the green part there. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are getting ahead of ourselves.
So anyway, Flink was given permission by these people to go into the restricted area, Campbell, of where only the hysterical people and the gatekeepers are allowed to go into. And the restricted area is where all the journals, books, manuscripts, and descriptions of what was seen is kept. We don't get to go in that restricted area. It's only there for the purpose of the gatekeepers.
Well, and where's this? Is this Antarctica?
No, the Mitchell Library.
Oh, okay. It's part of the Mitchell Library. Gotcha. Sorry.
Yes, and he was given.
I'm getting distracted.
He was the only non-hysterical or gatekeeper.
Okay, yes, that's what he
was allowed in there to do his research based on the fact that he found what he found. America was very interested.
Well, I mean, there is a reason they call them libraries, isn't there?
Because they bury.
They bury stuff and propagate the lies.
You'll love this. The word for TAFE in
TAFE,
in TAFE College,
in
the old root language, means fog.
Frog or fog?
Fog.
Wow, okay. So for anyone not in Australia, TAFE is our, what would you call it? It's like a college, I guess. It's sort of a bit below university style, degree type thing. But and fog, mind fog, right? Yes. Which reminds me of that picture of the internet where you go down the levels of the internet, and the second last one is the fog, just before the prime arc. Interesting. And the fog, of course, is, I mean, it's kind of related to the vapor canopy, vapor, fog.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just step back a little bit. Sorry, people, because I forgot to mention it, and it's very important. We talk about our original parents, and Jesus does come into that too.
Oh.
And the original name was Isu, I-E-S-U.
Okay, Isu, like Isu.
Isu, the origin of where Jesus' name came from. That it's been inverted by the little hats and sold to us as truth. Isu was a Mugra, originally from the ancient world, and was the sea father and co-creator with Jabba.
Okay. So there is some story.
So he's the sea father, Neptune.
Oh,
The original ancient world and the sea father. So he's Neptune, or what we call Neptune. Before and up to a certain stage of the split timeline resets and the fraud of the fallen, the forging of Jesus as a small hat was forged by the small hats and named as Jesus, but he was originally a Magua. The original story of the Bible was written in our root language and described our true beginnings. Not only that, it is, and then it was followed and rewritten in a form of a spell language in Hebrew.
Yeah, okay, and that's where the inversion bit comes in, because also the three wise men.
Yes.
Who followed the star using astrology, which apparently you're not supposed to do if you're a Christian because it's evil, but they did it anyway to find Jesus. They were magi or magi.
Thank you.
Or Magyar.
And guess who follows the stars for their travelling and their voyages? The Hungarians follow the star language. The Aboriginals follow the star language. Your three wise men followed the star language. So a connection again. They followed the stars. The stars gave them. That's how they went. And even in our Oralinda, here we go.
The Oralinda book. Yes, nice.
The Oralinda talks about the Magua king. The Oralinda was written not long after the tsunami.
Yeah. And they spoke Magyar, they say. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So it's all there, Campbell. You can just tick boxes. Tick, 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 tick. So yes, the root language of all can be seen as Babel in the English language now, and the Bible was even the Kaaba. I mean the white hat thing, Islam, all that.
Yamika, no,
the Bible for is it the Kaaba?
Oh, Quran.
Quran, yes, all of it. It's all forged for an agenda.
Yes. And of course, guys, this is not to trigger you. This is just information we've come across.
Yep. So
please
you just
don't yell at us in the comments.
Be the observer, not the absorber.
Nice.
Very, very important. So important. Then you don't get triggered. And if you do really get triggered, then you need to have a good look at yourself.
This is the thing. Ultimately,
and find out why you're being triggered.
We can't trigger you guys. We really can't. You're triggering yourselves. So it's not. It's something you need to look at in yourself if this is really triggering you.
Yeah. So yes, our Jesus story did exist, but it existed.
But it's completely been warped, edited, rewritten, and inverted. Yeah.
Yep. So we have Flink to really thank for a lot of this. So he was allowed to go into restricted areas of libraries and restricted areas in a lot of other places too. And I think he took quite a few years, and he was actually he was supported. He found a lot of evidence about colonialism like I said, in old journals and from our explorers, which we'll go into just quickly. And his report was finished in 1979 and presented to a parliamentary congress at the request of Sir Charles Wentworth. So all of this has evidence. It was after the presentation of his findings that the efforts were taken to discredit Flink and his research, and that literally the media were used to humiliate you and to silence him. Because what he found, the connections he found, they didn't want to accept. The Chinese walked out, and a lot of people were horrified by the connections that he found. Because let's face it, colonialism wants us to believe and to report back savages with primitive savages that have got no no boundaries, you know, they just,
Mm.
they're not human, which literally they were categorized as not
Yeah,
human. They
yeah,
were actually
literally.
categorized below
Yes,
animals. They had no
yes,
rights.
yeah.
Animals had more rights to them. So they were open slather to anybody.
Mm.
And they were literally told, and I've read it in the journals, Campbell, I can back this up, that they, not the ones he's read, but the ones, again, Arago, back to 1821, his captain was involved in a lot of stuff that went on in Australia. And he even talks about his meetings with Aboriginals here. And it's just, the thing is, like, there is a book which we can put in the link too. There is a book that's called The Australian Tasmanian, the Aboriginal Tasmanian. It was written in 1933 based on 1890 explorers' descriptions of the Tasmanians. Their descriptions of their hair, their skin colouring, their bodies, the way they walked, what their mannerisms were. There was zoology, get this, zoology reports in this book of what they found when they took these beautiful people apart. And I'm sorry if I'm offending, I know, and I don't know how much of that is true either, that we can't talk about the ancestors, because a lot of people, tribal people, want their ancestors remembered. Doesn't matter in what form, what shape, they want them remembered, they want them to be honoured, they want the ancestral stories to come out. So I don't know if that's part of our indoctrination, that we have to not talk about certain things. Maybe it's part of an agenda for another part of a culture. I don't know. But
I mean,
if
what it
I
does,
offend, I'm sorry.
this whole thing about ancestry, I guess, and lines and how long people have been and cultures, you know, like when you said the Chinese walked out, it's because they're taught, you know, that they've been Chinese and built this culture up over 6,000 years, right? The Australian originals have been taught 40,000 years or more. So
Yep.
if you just say, hang on, no, that there's all these links that can't be true, then that triggers a lot of people and it puts in a place where you cannot talk about it, which means the truth will never come out. So to me, it sounds a lot like gatekeeping. And again,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is not to offend anyone. We are just
No.
trying to get down to the truth because we all deserve the truth. And
Yep.
most of the things we've been taught have been from the system. It's been a program. Even with the originals, you know, because of the stolen generation and the not being able to speak their language and, you know, cutting the storylines and all of that kind of stuff, most of the information has come from the system. And
Yes.
we just have to accept that a lot of it is probably false.
And paid people
Yes,
from
yeah.
certain cultures again.
Mm.
You know, and it opens up a can of worms for Hungary too, because when you go back to the Hungarian history, they've been hammered, and they go back a long, long way, and they're connected to the Turks, they're connected to, you know, the Mongolians, they're connected to the Serbians, they're
Serbia,
connected
yeah.
Serbia, Romania, you know, because that's in that area. But still, the connections and what they've done to the Huns, and it, you know, it goes to the Huns. It's just a can of worms,
Yes.
and you know, it would blow. It literally blows it all apart. Campbell blows
Well,
it all apart.
it destroys the story of culture and the progression of culture and literary history, right? Which we all know at this point is just his story. It's a
Yep.
story that's been written to take us off path and to divide us and to weaken us.
So yeah, because they didn't like what they heard and what they saw, and they could see all the, you know, colonialism is what we base a lot of our history on, and a lot of our thinking process, and a lot of the indoctrination is based on the colonialism part. You know, you've got the privateers, you know, that worked for the East Indies in Batava, because, you know, pirates were the privateers. They were going around, they were scouts. That's all they were. They were scouts for the Indies, whether it be the Dutch, the English, the French.
Yeah.
They were all scouts. They weren't explorers. They were exploring for themselves. They weren't doing anything for
Explorers.
good. They were privateers.
Of course they were.
Rape and pillage and do what they want and what they were going to make money out of. And it proves all of that, Campbell.
And the pirates, you know, I mean, ever heard of Skull and Crossbones, anyone? That secret society from Yale that literally have the same symbol as the pirates, and they are now, that's where George Bush and all these presidents went to. Just this whole narrative, just, you know, just to put it out there, it's not about division. It's not about, you know, saying it's actually, it's the exact opposite. It's saying that we are actually all one. Like, we're all the same. We've been split up and divided and lied to by the few who wish to control us.
And not being, and then you've got, you know, being one, that doesn't mean you're your own individual self, and that you're not going inside to inner stand and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean that. It means that we had no separation of colour, of sex, of anything, hair colour, eye
religion,
colour,
society.
you know, all that stuff. It means that we were all one respected family of different cultures and dialects.
Yes.
We were still individuals. We were still our own people, but we had a one denominator factor of being the root people of this realm, and we respected the balance of male and female energy, and that's what we've lost. So
balance.
You know, if we had an extreme female, which you can see happening now, you know, it's not just the extreme male energy. We have an extreme female energy. What is going on in our parliaments? It's extreme female energy that is being supported to go to the extreme of the feminine.
Yes, and when we're told that that's strength, that's a strong woman, and they're flipping it, right? Like they're feminizing men, right? They want men to be less masculine, and they want females to be more masculine. So they're literally flipping the polarity.
Yes, that is. So we never get to where we need to as magnetic beings that are balanced. We're not electric beings. It shits me when we get told we're electric beings. We are not electric. The Allites are electric. We are magnetic. We are the majestics. The majesties, it's all the Mugra. We are
majesty.
It's all there in the wording, Campbell. Like you keep saying the ELs, the Ls, the elites. That's the electric.
Yeah, the L closed circuit, Lights.
Thank you. We're not electric. We're magnetic. Big difference. So anyway, he's literally shunned, humiliated, and silenced after that.
Of course.
The public never got to see his detailed findings, written in an extensive and thoroughly researched report to this day. Now get this one. I don't know if I should say this either nowadays, because they're part behind all this rubbish as well. And they're obviously the little things as well, but they start a religion, the religion of the Catholic, got involved.
Okay, so sun worship.
Yes.
Ra Legion, you can't see the sun when you're under a vapor canopy.
Boom, boom.
Okay, geez, all right.
You get aha moments in all this, don't you, Campbell? I just constantly get them, and I hope the viewers get these aha moments too, because I really want to connect the dots here.
Because it's all sun worship, and I've always wondered how is that a bad thing? Because the sun is the giver of life, you know, as far as we know it, but it's all Ra, you know, the Set, and Jesus was the Son of God. It's also, yeah, right, because they're worshipping the fall of the vapor canopy, basically.
To an extent, Campbell, to an extent. Because the sun that we know is their sun. It's white.
It is white, yeah. The one we've got now.
It doesn't give. It doesn't give, Campbell. It drains you. A little side note of you saying Seth, because things trigger me. Have a good look at Seth.
Seth, which Seth?
The Egyptian Seth, S-E-T-H.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, so Set, they pronounce it. That's where we get sunset from, yeah.
Well, when you look at him and study him, you don't see a jackal. He was meant to be based on a jackal, from memory. He's a kangaroo.
I think you've said that before. I mean, interesting, because they did find boomerangs, didn't they, in Tutankhamun's tomb?
They found gold that came from Australia.
Found gold that came from Australia, and the Gosford glyphs. We've got Egyptian hieroglyphs here in Australia. Yeah.
They also found kangaroo images in the hieroglyphs in Egypt, in his tomb.
Wow.
In one of the tombs. So Seth looks like a kangaroo.
It's interesting because
Going off track a little bit here.
Seth is someone in the Bible as well.
So
Seti. Oh, Seti. SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, you know, the SETI, the system where they look into space. Yeah, right.
Wording, Campbell, our spell words. I tell you, once you start using the Ra Legion and the warshipping, you got the warship docked.
You got the warship docked, yes. So you can pass the port.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to show just quickly. You can keep talking, but here's some images of Set. This is obviously drawn, but that looks very kangaroo, that little head, right?
The big ears, Campbell, give it away.
It's the big ears,
and
yeah.
pointy nose.
Like this one, right? Set these, where's there a statue of him? Here. Right. Doesn't look like a jackal, does it?
No, it's a kangaroo. There is a picture found in some of the hieroglyphics of a kangaroo in the hieroglyphics. So that story of the Gympie ones, I would really like to cover too, because there is an Aboriginal who talks about the true story, not the Steve.
The Strongs.
Story, totally different. And it blows my mind what he tells you about what those glyphs say, because some were actually done by the Aboriginals, and they don't really want you to know that.
Oh.
Okay. Because the Aboriginals knew how to do hieroglyphics.
How to do hieroglyphics, and there should be no connection there.
They also mummified.
God, he looks like a bit like an aardvark as well. But yeah, definitely it just doesn't look like a jackal. Right?
There's a picture I saw of him, and I thought, I can see. I'll have to find it. He's a kangaroo. He's based on it. He's a god of kangaroo or something. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And then I've got a photo of the diggers in Cairo, or Giza, sorry, with the pyramids, and they've got a baby kangaroo as their mascot.
Wow.
Why would you do that?
It doesn't make sense. Just look at the foot here. Look at that. His foot. I mean, it looks a bit kangaroo-y. The body doesn't. But all right, we'll find some more pictures for the future shows. But yeah,
food for thought, Campbell.
Interesting.
So yes, the old church got involved. So no surprise here, Campbell. His work was stolen.
Surprised that the library didn't burn down, actually.
Yeah, his home was broken into and all his work was stolen.
Jeez, which, of course, very common story, right? When you're finding stuff that weren't released. You know, kind of proof that he was onto something.
Oh, yeah. He was onto something big time. So only later after the stealing of his life's research, he comes home. This is so E.T. Comes home to find two men sitting in his lounge room to greet him in his home. So Flink found two men sitting in his home with all his stolen work laid out in front of him and told never to discuss what he had found. Never release it, never discuss it with anybody.
Yes. Again, very common story, but like why is the question, right? Why are they so hell-bent on keeping secrets? Because they got
Exactly.
something to
And
hide,
why?
right?
Because it blows their split timeline
Narrative.
reset to suit them and their history. It blows it out the water. They can't keep up the illusion. Once people find out that what the truth actually is, and all this you can find yourself, all this is based, as far as I'm concerned, on a lot of myth and mythology and a lot of old stories that we're given.
So I'm also guessing that, the vapor canopy, when that fell, I mean, would that not create a flood? I mean, Noah literally is the person who went from like the old world to the new world, right?
And he was a giant.
And he was a giant. And at the start, it was like in the Bible, it says, basically you'll eat fruit and nuts. And then after the flood, it's like, well, now you're going to eat animals. Interesting.
And Gabriel said to me, first came the feathers, then the turbans.
First came the feathers and then the turbans. Okay. Have you got any more context for that? Turbans, I'm thinking,
well, you got the feathers that the tribes wore.
Oh, as in like Aztecs and things. Yeah.
A lot of tribes wore feathers.
Yeah.
As decoration.
Yeah.
And then came the turbans, which means that a lot of the evolving cultures wore turbans. And I've got pictures of that coming up too.
Oh, as in Australians. Interesting.
But mainly in other southern Pacific islands, Campbell.
Like Java. Java's a big one, right? There've been a lot of maps. Java was big, right? Probably just after it disconnected from the rest of this land. But now Java's just a small island, right? But yeah, I mean,
There was the turbans, whereas that weren't the M word, the Muslims.
Yeah.
That's another
the Sikhs
inversion.
And things. Yeah.
So there were many who lived on islands that wore turbans.
So why did they do that? Do you know?
I don't know. That's one question I've got for Gavril, but what you just said just reminded me of the photo he sent me where you see the feathered tribes with the turban tribes, the turban hat tribes in the South Pacific. Many islands, not just one island. So again, it's a culture thing maybe. I have to find out more, but it just tells me, just on a surface, that we had a lot of connection with India. We had a lot of connection with the Arabs, which were in turn the Tartars, which weren't Tartarian, and the Mongols. So there was, I personally think about maybe that they were a lot earlier scouters as well, before our colonial scouting.
Yeah. Interesting, because India is definitely a turban wearing culture, but there's not supposed to be any connection down here, and that there is definitely language connections. But with what you're saying, that sounds like there's language connections probably everywhere, but there's definitely strong ones to Australia.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Well, they talk that Australia was the original land of Java and Istan.
Oh.
That's where the Star Seed family started. Well, the seed family started was here.
Interesting.
Hmm.
And do you know what it was called? I think I had a map before with the front.
Yes, Ugar.
Ugar?
Australia was called Ugar, Ugar.
Ugar.
Yep.
All right.
The original name.
Ugar.
Yep. U. Oh, now I've got to think of it. Ugar.
G-A-R.
I'm just jumping ahead of myself here.
Oh, so Ugar is now an island in the Torres Strait. Interesting. The Torres Strait is the islands between Australia and Papua New Guinea,
which once was connected.
Which once was part of this land, and so it's kept the name.
Yep, and it was once, and where Gabriel lived, I'll have to ask him to. Gewena, Gewna, from memory. Depends on how you say it, but Gewena. And that part was actually was a lake between Papua New Guinea and Australia. You did tell me the name of the lake, because I'm not in that place I haven't written those notes, but it was a lake. He lived around a lake area.
Which then obviously got bigger and turned into a sea at some point.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that too, because that is so exciting. Very exciting. So, so poor Mr. Flink got told to shut up.
So I'm guessing that he's gone now?
Yes, he's died. So the root Magra language was exposed, and that was because it was the foundation of all languages around the world. And because that information that would destroy, again, the official version of history, and we have been taught. And, think about what we've learnt in school, what learning about one civilization, one root language with many dialects, what the implications would be for that. So, Flink was able to clearly understand and converse with Australian originals. By doing so, he discovered the Tasmanian language was the original Magra language, and the original name for Australia was Ugar.
Interesting.
So
I'm sure there's more connections there somewhere, but
there's a lot of connections. So Att found journals and accounts of the invasion, where it was recorded that which they did to the Red Indians in America as well, but it's openly discussed there now, where they tainted. You know how they gave them blankets?
Oh yeah, smallpox.
They had apparently boxes of smallpox that they would literally deliberately put the scabs on these blankets to hand over to the Aboriginals to eliminate them.
Yeah.
They had, like I said, Dampler requested a Hungarian translator who wasn't the only one, and they literally had translators who spoke the root language. If this is what Flink found, they had that spoke the root language and then made notes of which tribes were to be unalived and reported the information back to the military, which also explains what you mentioned, the stolen generation, where the children were forced to live with English-speaking people to break the original root language, not only to break that, but also to break the storylines and knowledge of the original people and the original language, and literally break any evidence of our original parents.
Yeah, and to hide the invasion.
Yep. So then we look at the fact that we are called humans, Campbell, and human is actually a Magra word. It's called Hunman.
Hunman.
Hunman. If we
Hunman.
add
Hunman. Oh, Hun, as
Hunman.
in the Huns and Hungary and, oh, yeah, right. Hunman.
So if we too say, so human is Hunman, but when you look at the word hue, because hue actually covers colours, doesn't it?
It does, yes, the hue of something.
The hue of colours. So we are the hue, men. We are the skin colours of man. So,
and of course they've inverted that as well with their legalese, right? In legalese, human means monster.
Yes. Yeah. So what is the meaning of hue? Hue refers to a dominant base family colour: red, blue and yellow. Red skin people, that's their base colour. The Aboriginals, some Aboriginals have been described as being so, and Afrikaans has been described as being so dark in black colour that they look blue.
Yes. Yes.
Yellow. Who has the base of a yellow skin?
Well, I'm guessing Asian people.
Some other people do, but also too, the red is predominant in a very pale-skinned, maybe Irish person. You see people that are paler skin that actually will glow red.
And yeah, and they have red hair and the freckles, and they got that reddish look, even though they're very white. Yeah, right.
So we have a hue, and hue means red, blue, or white. And you can see that in our skin tones, Campbell. You get, even when you're a female and you put makeup on, when you're finding a foundation for your skin, you have to find whether the base colour of your skin has blue tones, red tones, or yellow tones.
Really? I did not know that.
Yes. So when the hue, which is your basic three colours of red, blue and yellow, you then add, let me see, hang on a minute. You add the toning. So a tint could be white. So when you add a bit of white to your skin tone, you can look paler. When you add grey to a skin tone, you look blacker. So your skin is black. The shade of black on your skin tone can make the black look a muted grey. So we're not called humans for nothing. There is a reason for our skin colour, depending on our environment, whether it's tinted with a sun, whether it's tinted not, whether it has a grey tone from winter, because my skin, as we have spoken about, goes a different tone, a greyer tone in the winter because I'm not receiving the vitamin D, I'm not getting proper. We're not talking about the sun now, which is white.
It's
Isn't that
definitely white.
amazing?
Yeah, it definitely used to be orange and then yellow, right?
So this is affecting the colour of our skin.
Well, yeah, I mean, I probably don't spend as much time in the sun now, but when I was young, I would go black, very, very dark in the summer, and my hair would go white, like white blonde.
So I go back to the white. So we're going to an agenda at the moment where the whites are, we're losing our rights because of our skin colour.
Yes.
It's all by design to support the darker skin races. I understand the basis of it, but again, it's like the male and female. You get too much of one thing, you start becoming erratic and you start to demonise someone because your understanding of that becomes distorted. So we had a white supremacy law in Australia.
The White Australia policy. Yep.
Right. When my parents immigrated to Australia, thank God they did it in the winter. Hence we had a greyer hue, which means we were tainted, a lot paler. If we'd come over in the summertime when most Europeans are very olive-skinned and a lot of them are very, very dark, including myself, including you, if we had come as a family over to Australia in the summer with my hair that was as white as snow and curly, 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 and my skin was very, very dark, that my teeth would actually look pearl white, and I was called the walking blonde-haired Aboriginal, and I remember being called it all the time as a kid. I might not have been allowed into this country, Campbell. The only reason why I was A, my skin was paler in the winter, and B, my facial features didn't fit the dark facial features that they didn't want. So that's a really important thing to remember, really important, because it's like and please don't get me wrong when I say this, I'm just using this as an analogy of what I'm trying to say, but it's no different to, you've got governments now, like in Britain, you're not allowed to have an extra large dog breed, even though that has implications of a lot of breeds. What is an extra large dog breed? It could be a German Shepherd. It could be a Great Dane.
Could be a golden retriever.
Hey?
Could be a golden retriever, right? Which
could be a golden retriever.
even
Exactly.
aggressive dogs. So.
But we categorise the extra large dog in the bully characteristics and the facial features and body structure of a bully. So pit bulls are put in that category, yet the American Staffordshire is an Amstaff, which is a large version of the British Staffies, and most people don't know how to differentiate these breeds. They just class them in the same spot. Well, that's what happened with the white supremacy law, is that you might have dark skin, but so long as you have certain facial features, you can come in. But if you have Afrikaans or broad nose, broad here, curly tight hair, you might have very pale skin, which a lot of them do. You're not allowed in. So it's like just an agenda of indoctrination of how we see things, and it's a part of MK altering, because as soon as we have that vision in our head, that's the vision that follows the agenda.
Yeah, well, they used to actually look at the shape of the skull and even like the bumps, and I think it was called, is it phrenology? Is that what it was called?
Yes.
But they would basically say that you're smarter or less intelligent based on the shape.
Darwin theory.
Yeah, evolution and all that kind of garbage. Yeah.
So I had all this research of this is happening with me, and I get all these aha moments. And this is when I talk to you, I get things happen to me of confirmation. The weirdest confirmation that I had happened last weekend in regards to this. I went to a friend's party. I got to meet her lovely friends and family, and her mother, or a lady that was there, was her mother, who I'd never met. She was quite a petite woman who was very striking looking. I found her really striking. I was really interested in her, actually, because of her appearance. Now, I couldn't work out. She was a very petite woman with striking, and I mean striking, blue eyes, Campbell, who was probably in her 50s, thick jet black, shiny hair. And I was just so mesmerised by this woman. And I started looking at her before I met her, and I thought, you must have Indigenous in you. Even though you don't have Indigenous features, I have a feeling you're Indigenous, but I can't put my finger on it. And it was really bugging me. And then I thought, no. The second look, she's got Spanish features. She must be Portuguese, Spanish. I can still see some form of Indigenous. I just couldn't put my finger on it. Anyway, she came and talked to me, and she was just just as intrigued by me as I was by her on appearances. It was bizarre, Campbell. So we sat down and talked. She introduced herself as my friend's mother, and we had a good old chat. And she said to me, I don't know what it is. I just feel so drawn to talk to you, Paula. It's, you just intrigue me. And I said, really? I said, well, you're intriguing me too. And she said, on what basis? And I said, your appearance intrigues me. And she said, she looked at me like I was some, like what? No. And I said, I just can't work out your nationality. And she said, oh, yeah, it's funny about that because I'm getting that same feeling about you. And I told her, I've got Dutch ancestry and blah, blah, blah. And I said, so what's your ancestry? I said, you must be Spanish, or I just see I think there's some indigenous there. And she said, bong, 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 bong. She said, you're wrong on all levels, Paula. And I went, well, what is your ancestry? She said, I'm Irish. And I looked at her and I went, what? She said, I'm Irish. And I said, oh, okay. And she goes, and there is no mixed races here, thank you very much. And I said, what does that actually mean? And she said, my ancestral history goes back to the original, get this, the original black cultic tribes. What are the chances, Campbell? And the funny thing is, I've got a photo that I screenshot a week before of the black cultic tribe. There's a book written about it.
I've heard, I have heard of this.
And I said, oh my God, now I'm really fascinated. And she said, yes, she goes, I originally come from the Black Celts. And she said, and my family are very predominant politically, activists. They were activists right through to, all the wars in Ireland as well. Her father or grandfather was the mayor of Dublin. They have castles in their family. They have mansions. And she said to me, and look at old me, here I am with jack shit over here in Australia. And she said, over there, they're the original, she belongs with the original Celtic tribes.
Interesting.
And yet our impression and what we're ingrained to believe and the examples that we get of the Irish, they've either got very dark skin, pale hair, light skin, very pale light skin with freckles and, and
well, they're gingers,
they're gingers.
No? Blue, I mean, that's interesting too, right? That we, in Australia, we call, well, not so much anymore. Back in the day, though, someone who was red-haired, freckled, they were called blue. Like, there's that skin tone thing that we were talking about. I don't know.
And there you go about the Dan. She must belong to the Magridan tribe of Dan in Ireland. So what are the chances of meeting someone with that ancestral history when I'm doing this research?
It's interesting. I mean, the UK, right, again, is, their history is very strange. Like Welsh is apparently, if you can read and write Welsh, you can read and write Egyptian, isn't it? Egyptian.
Yes. And the Magra goes to the root language of Egyptian.
Exactly.
So there's the root language of the Celts. So if we can, that's the code, Campbell, the code that we need. And I tell you right now, you go onto the Facebook page, you go onto his YouTube channel, Goz's YouTube channel, and the amount of Hungarians that follow him, the amount of examples you get of English and Hungarian translations is fascinating. And they know the history. And they've been silenced too.
They've had it passed down. We'll put the link for that below as well for Goz's
I have to send it
channel.
to you.
Send it over and we'll put it in.
So we've gone to that, and now we go to a few of have we got time, Campbell?
Got a little bit of time left. How we
Okay,
going?
so Fink's main connection, and if you want to get up the pictures of the explorers.
Yes, Jorgensen.
Yes, Jorgensen, the Danish captain. And that's there's another connection which I want to discuss with you further, which goes to the islands at the bottom of India, where we have the tribes of people that no one can go near because
yes, because they get spears thrown at them.
Yeah, the Andanesia or something. There's a whole lot of islands there that you know those people are protected. Before India protected those islands, guess who was the lords of those islands?
The Dutch,
Danish.
the
Danish.
Dutch East, yeah. The Danish is not Dutch. Sorry, Danish is from Denmark.
Yes, so the Danish were involved in colonization as well.
So yeah, because we think of Dutch, because of Dutch East India, Dutch West India Company, and that, but the Danish too. The great.
So we're looking. Yeah. So we're looking at a man that perceived himself to become the king of Tasmania.
Jorgensen is one of the most fascinating characters in Tasmanian, indeed Australian history, described by historian Marcus Clarke as singularly accomplished fortune wooer. What? One of the most interesting human comets recorded in history. So he wanted to become...
He wanted to become the king.
The convict king.
He wanted to become the king of Tasmania. He ended up becoming being transported back to England and came back to Australia as a convict after he did a lot of damage in Australia. So the connection became very, very clear with Flink to this man. And like I said, he wanted to die. He wanted to become the king of Tasmania. But before that, he was an explorer in the British military and the Navy. And he had, now I had to look this up quite a few times, Campbell, because Flink talks about a silo, that there were many silos on board his ship that could speak Hungarian.
What's silo? What's
a silo? Literally,
I'm thinking
if
of
you
a
look
grain
up the word
silo.
silo,
It's
it actually means a sole person, a solo that has walls around it like a silo of wheat.
Yeah,
it has walls around it. It's singular. Nothing can penetrate it. It keeps to itself. Well, remember we had Aboriginal trackers and Aboriginal police forces employed by the military. They used tribes from Queensland and up north to track down the Victorian tribes, the Tasmanian tribes, and the Western Australia tribes, because they couldn't afford to have tribes from tribes because there was a loyalty there, Campbell, so they couldn't track to kill.
Yeah.
Unalived. So a silo was also an Aboriginal tracker.
Okay, all right.
But could translate from English to the root language of Magra.
Interesting.
And Jorgensen was the connection, because in his journals he was what you would call the ultimate, how I read him, the ultimate person with some form of grandeur, which we call people nowadays as, I don't know, what are the
up themselves.
No, you've got, I think, I don't
yourself.
think it's not people with ADHD. I can't remember. There's a title for people, OTC, someone that is like OCT, I can't remember. But anyway, people that have got grandeur thoughts that their superiority of who they are goes beyond normal comprehension. That was this man.
Delusions of grandeur.
Delusions of grandeur. Thank you very much. But that's why he wanted to become king of Tasmania. So anyway, he made sure, after coming to Australia and exploring it and writing back to his small hats back in Denmark and in the British Navy, he realised that he needed to have some silos, as they were called, Aboriginal trackers and people that could talk to the Aboriginal tribes in their dialect and then talk back to him in an English dialect. Amazing he didn't want them to talk in Danish.
Yeah, I know, right?
So he had a particular soldier as well that was Hungarian that he used quite often to translate to him. And then he was able to write down in reports to send back to the military of information that they needed about what was happening to the Australian tribes. So this particular soldier was silenced. He disappeared because he was evidence. So yes, there was interpretator Aboriginals called silos and a soldier who was Hungarian that he used to translate. So he could get the information he needed because they were all spies. They were all privateers. They all were spies for the Dutch, the Germans even, the British, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the French, the Danish, obviously. So, yeah, Australia had a lot of something that they desperately wanted. And there's a reason for that too. And like I said, we'll get into that in the next series. So the people that helped there were silenced. Dapper also needed a Dappler, also in his journals, writes, "Get me a bloody Hungarian onto the boats to speak to these natives."
Wow.
Then we have George Augustus Robinson.
Yes, this one. Yep, George Augustus Robinson.
Now, Swan Island is another one. Remember, Swan Island was used for the orphan. I know when I did the convict children and orphan children, all of a sudden a lot of orphan children were sent to Swan Island. It became a point where a lot of, even up to the 70s, Swan Island was used for the transfer of children.
You're right.
So he writes in his journal, Swan Island was full of white natives. He reported back to the military. He said, "Hurry up and get them sold."
Jeez. Yeah, right. White natives in Australia, and we've touched on this before, that there's still descendants of the white tribes from Australia.
Yes, there is. And there's a tribe of them in Melbourne.
Yes.
Because I've spoken with them and they watch your show, Campbell.
Oh, hello.
And yes, they have, one of the ladies has reached out to me in our very first or second show. She reached out to me and she said, "What can you tell me about any other full-fledged white, pale-skinned tribes? Do you know of anything about it? Because I come from a white tribe of Melbourneites, and I'm not a mixed race. That's part of the what we're taught, that there can't be any white, because they can't explain when there's tribes that they take photos of and you see a pure white-haired Aboriginal child with pale skin and blue, then they turn around to cover it up and say that they've been mixed bred with the early settlers. The Europeans did that. They must have had an Aboriginal wife.
Yeah.
Well, she said to me, she said that was absolute rubbish. She is a pure Indigenous person of pale skin. and they're ostracised.
Well, and it doesn't fit to their story of evolution, right? Because
No.
you know the story is they've been isolated here for 40,000 years, and that's why they're all dark skinned because it's so hot here, and melanin, and all that kind of stuff,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
it definitely goes against that. You know, if they were white tribes, that story wouldn't fly.
No. No. So we've got white tribes in Swan Island that many, not just one tribe, many tribes that inhabit Swan Island, and he reported back and said he wants them sold.
Wow. So, I mean, I wonder where they were sold to. Like, did they all go overseas to totally get rid of all the evidence, right? Get them out of the country quick, sell them.
Well, we're going to get into that too.
All right.
So then we have Abel Tasman.
Oh, old Abel. Oh, hang on. That's not Abel. Hang on. I'm on the wrong spot. Let me stop this. I'll start again. That one. I think it is. No, that's not Abel. That's.
And I'm finding all the connections now to the East Indies, the VOC. Remember we talked about that too? When Mr. Banks and Mr. Matthews and Mr. Cook, all part of the VOC in Batavia. So Mr. Abel Campbell in 1642 was another privateer.
He looks like one of the Three Musketeers.
He does. Part of the Dutch East Indies. He named, when he was over in the land of Australia and the bottom end of what we now call Tasmania.
After him, by the way, Abel Tasman. That's where we get Tasmania.
Well, no, it wasn't.
That's
Campbell.
what we're told. Okay, that's the mainstream. Am I wrong? Okay.
What I've found is that, yes, he was sent over there as a spy to check out obviously the Tasmanian Aboriginals again in that early time period, because he found the land for the VOC, the Dutch East Indies. He named the land in 1642. He named the land after Anthony Van Diemen.
Yeah, Van Diemen's Land, yes, which is what it used to be called, yeah.
Anthony Van Diemen was the Governor-General of Batavia, the Admiral of the Dutch East Indies. And he declared to the governor that he has named that land after him. He returned a century later to invade it.
What?
Yes.
How old was he?
Abel Tasman, 1642.
1642, and he returned a century later.
Yes,
like 100 years later.
To invade, yeah.
So he would have been, what, 130?
No, he actually didn't. Hang on. So he declared the land theirs, the Dutch.
Yeah.
Sorry, declared it there. He named it after Anthony Van Diemen because he was the Governor-General of Batavia and the Admiral of the Dutch East Indies. The East Indies didn't return back to Tasmania until a century later to invade the land.
So they claimed it but didn't get back there to actually take it over by force for 100 years.
Frozen.
Oh, hello?
You're frozen.
Am I frozen?
Yeah.
Oh, am I back?
So more on Abel Tasman. So Abel Tasman, hang on. So Anthony Van Diemen was the head governor of Batavia in 1636 and died in 1645. A very, very wealthy man and owned most of the land in Batavia, Indonesia. Right. Abel Tasman invaded the northwest coast of Australia as well, calling it New Holland.
Yes.
He was a navigator and merchant for the VOC, the Dutch East Indies, and was commissioned by Van Diemen in 1642 to 1644 to go out and find and name lands under the Dutch East Indies flag. He was told to investigate the Pacific, Tasmania, New Zealand, Tonga, Fiji, and Papua New Guinea areas. I'm just reading all my notes here, sorry.
Yeah.
And his mission, and only mission, was to find the Great Southern Land and claim it for Holland.
Yeah. I mean, this is the other thing about Australia, right? It's called, like on all the maps, they draw it and then they call it incognito, right? Australis incognito, which means hidden, basically.
Yes.
But clearly they knew it was there. Like there's all this thing of, oh, they just, no one knew it was there. It was clearly they knew it was there. They knew it was there and they were out looking for it.
And they knew it was there. And what has happened is disgusting, Campbell. So the narrative, despite expanding Dutch geographical knowledge for the VOC. So, the Philippines were also invaded by the Spanish. The Spanish were involved. The Portuguese were involved. And the Portuguese, let's just touch on that a little bit, because the Portuguese had been mapping this whole area for a very, very, very long time. They had secret inventories and maps of this whole area way before the Spanish got hold of it. The Portuguese is documented to have already arrived in Australia, and I've got proof of it many, many, many times. We'll go into the very top of Australia where there's Aboriginal drawings of the ships that have been coming here for centuries.
Mm. Yeah. And there was that community that was found, right? That were...
Yes, the Dutch community in the centre of in Central Australia, where the ABC guy was trying to find them.
Yes.
And then you get the ship that was discovered in Central Australia in the desert. I forgot all about that, but someone reminded the ship. An old ship was found, parts of its hull was found in the Central Australia.
Wow.
This is in the 70s, Campbell. A lot of things were released in the 70s. And I've forgotten all about that until someone mentioned it again. One of your viewers mentioned it in some of the early series that we did. And I then straight away remembered that being told, even at school when I went to school.
Yeah, right.
It was huge news that a hull of an ancient ship had been discovered in Central Australia.
That's interesting. So I've got a couple of maps that show, an inland ocean.
Yes. And beautiful Rex Gilmore, who has got many books out that I also want to dedicate a lot of my stuff to, and his beautiful wife. He discovered so much of this as well, and he's written a lot of it in his books. So, like I said, we'll go into the Chinese were here 3,000 years ago, which I said to you. I've got a map that I'll share, and we'll also see the size of the boats that they travelled in.
Yes, the junks, which were huge.
Yes. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, it's interesting because Piri Reis was Chinese.
Yeah.
You know, the Piri Reis map that Graham Hancock talks about, and it's like, oh my God, he drew Antarctica. Well, clearly he'd have to be down in the southern, down south, right, near Australia to be able to do that.
He also mapped out New Guinea in that too.
Mm.
So I think that's enough to digest for everybody.
Yes, I think so. Yes, that's a lot, right?
And just a little note to Goz, because Goz, your strength and your will to get this out has had a personal toll on you, and I'm really, really sorry for that, but you have a lot of support, and the more we get it out there, the more they realise that they can't just hit one person. So this is to you. Addy in 97 publicly claimed that he had successfully translated Tasmanian language, the Paula Tasmanian dialect. Because of the Danish captain Jorgen Josen recorded one of the few surviving historical vocabularies of the Tasmanian words, so he documented the words of the Tasmanians during his time of exploring the island in the 19th century, that Finks was able to discover and debate those discoveries. Finks discovered and debates the 19th century colonial journals of the linguistics into a profound, and says it's a profound human tragedy that we don't know our true beginnings. And what it implies to Goz is that the controlled narrative is actively maintained, and not just achieving documents and books and hiding them on restricted shelves, but through ongoing and ongoing and forceful attacks on a living person who carries the vocal transmissions of Finks's discovery to all of us. Goz has been put in psychiatric wards. He's been medically weaponised. It's a horrific tale. I don't want to bring the show down, but it needs to be acknowledged that people out there that are trying to give us the truth put themselves in a place that of their own.
Of risk, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's like you said, the more people know about this, the hard, it becomes irrelevant for them to try and shut people down, right? Because there's too many people, it's out there. So share this around, guys. Get it out there to as many people, and then they can't stop it, right? Once the floodgates are open, and I think we all know that this is their time of downfall. It's the time of the truth coming up. So let's, share this around, get it out there.
Get it out there, share and like, subscribe, guys, do it all. It helps Campbell to get this. It gets more people seeing it. We have to, it's time to support these people. It's time to support people that have been trying for years to get the truth out, and they are totally slammed and attacked for doing so. And yet the people that are so-called giving the truth, that have got a lot of followers, just follow the agenda. So again, listen to the inner self. So
and we'll put the link for Goz's channel below, so go and subscribe to it, right? And in that way you can help his videos get more views as well. Start watching them, share them around.
Start watching them. I do have to say that he has tried to record Flink in cafes, because the meeting of Flink was dangerous at that time. So they were meeting in cafes. So some of the recordings are very hard to understand. I'm trying to decipher them myself, and I think to some extent that's by design as well. They've made it so it's not really clear in the recordings. And a lot of it, he talks with a very Hungarian accent, and he breaks down a lot of English and the translation of the root language. So because we don't understand a lot of it, it can be very difficult. But I think we can work through that. And I think, the more people that go on there, the more, and even if a little bit sinks in, it doesn't matter. It's out there.
I agree.
Like Max Egan did it 6 years ago, and he was not able to do part 2.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately ended up having to leave the country.
Yes. So hence why we have the protection people. But at the end of the day, I don't give a shit. I really don't. I'm protected. I've always been protected. It's time it stops. It has to stop. We're not here doing this for not having an outcome, and we've chosen to be here. I know I've chosen to be here. Campbell's chosen to be here. The true truthers have chosen to be here in this moment in time, and there is many of us who choose to hide in the background, as I once did. But I have been guided and pushed by an invisible field that says, fuck this, Paula. Get out there.
Do it. It's time.
Just do it. It's fine. You're only in a meat suit.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well, exactly. Yeah. That as well. But yeah, I mean, we need to, you know, for the world to change, to get back, you know, get rid of these parasitic controllers, we need the truth. So, you know, and that's not going to happen if we all sit around and hide and worry that they're going to come and find us or they're going to take our channels down or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? It's got to get out. And I think the time is now. Like, there's a lot going on, and it's so, yeah, share this around, guys.
Time is now.
Get it out, get it out there. Let's expose these, you know, whatever they are. I guess they're our evil twins now after this show, right? But let's expose them for what they are. They're
kids. They're kids, got no boundaries, got no understanding of humanity. So, you know, we just got to push them back in their bloody boxes. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, exactly right. They are. They're the, yeah.
They're throwing tangies. We can see the tangies now.
Yeah. Tantrums like kids in kindergarten, because that's all they are.
Yeah,
they just
They've
pretend.
never grown up.
Yeah.
They've never grown up.
No, too many mushies.
I love it. I love it.
All right. Well, this is part one, guys. So we'll be back with more and more. Leave us your comments, all that other good stuff. Like, subscribe, yes, and we'll see you on the next upload.
Yep. Can't wait.
See you guys.
Bye.